Welcome to the promoted page. Today we're going to talk about author biographies. So in other words, tell me a little bit about you. So are biographies necessary? Well, every author needs a biography. So yes, absolutely they're necessary. Biographies tell the reader about the author. They should be on every single book you write, even if it's a children's book or even if it just needs to be a short biography, it should be on every single book. So they can be used for interview purposes also. If you have guest appearances on blogs or video, that can absolutely come in handy. So biographies should be brief. You don't want them too long so that they bore people or they take up the whole back of your cover. They should be interesting. They should compel the reader to want to know more about you. Again, and then that goes with compelling. They should be something that they can relate to. Maybe you tell a little bit of your history, a little bit about writing, something that catches their interest. Not redundant. You don't want to keep repeating yourself over and over and over again. Just get to the facts, just the facts. Okay, and it should connect with the readers. Again, they should want to know more about you and be informative. Just give them a little information about you. So where do you start? Start by introducing yourself. Take a look at a lot of books and read the author biographies, especially the genre you're going to write. Make a list of what you like about those and how it would appeal to you. List your literary achievements if you have any. In other words, if you were in a writer's group or maybe you led a writer's group or you were in a conference where you were a speaker. And give a little bit about your history. That's fine, but be brief. I mean, you don't want to tell them you got 3 grandkids and 2 kids and 4 dogs and 2 horses. You just tell them a little bit about your history, especially as it pertains to writing. Do not ever mention your birth date or your age because that could be a factor of a little bit maybe prejudice. So you don't want that. And again, know your audience. Who are you writing for and who will be reading your bio? So always write in third person. It's so important because you don't want to feel like it's I. You're just talking about you. You want to feel like whoever did the cover of the book is telling them how wonderful you are. So it can sound like you're bragging. You don't want to do that. And it sounds as if someone else is describing you. In other words, I'm saying, oh, Susan is a great author. She's done this, she's done that. So like you're describing someone. And it is easier to talk about yourself in third person. If you get some practice at it, you'll do fine. Just practice at it. So the best way to do that, I find, is to pretend that you're describing someone else. Pretend like the person sitting across from you is who you're actually describing instead of yourself. So not I, my, mine, or me. It's you, your, they, them. Okay, now we talked about connecting with the reader. So no matter what you're writing, whether it's fiction, short stories, romance, horror, children's books, whatever you're writing, you need to make a connection through your autobiography. They're going to look at the cover, then they're going to turn it over and they're going to look at the autobiography. So most readers will never meet you, so your biography makes them feel like they know you, especially if you've got a series and they're going to be reading more than one of your books. It's a chance to make that connection just as soon as they pick up your book. And they need to feel like you're talking directly to them. That's, again, why you should use the third person. And wow them. I always like to say to wow them. If you've got credentials, list them. Maybe you went to journalism school. Maybe you again spoke at a convention or seminar, but a short list. Don't, if you've done 50 different things, you don't want to list them all. List those that are most relevant to that book. In other words, if you're writing romance and you went to a romance convention and you were the speaker, definitely put that on there. And any jobs that you've had that pertain to writing. Let's say you worked at a publishing company. Any endorsements you might have received. Let's just say Steven Spielberg wrote you an endorsement. You definitely want to put that on there. And any names of known places. In other words, if you spoke at Congress or something that is well known, you want to put that on there too. For instance, Sue Stevens is an investigative reporter for the Gazette newspaper. Her latest book, Hunting Wolves, is the 3rd in the Animal Species series. Now that's catchy. That's really good. It tells them a little bit about her. It tells them where she worked, what she did, about her book, and then it's going to be a series. So here's another one. New York Times bestselling author Gary Garrett states that Hunting Wolves is one of the most jaw-dropping books I've ever read. Be sure to put it on your bucket list. Okay, so what she's got here, she has someone who is another author, who is a New York Times bestselling author, telling you that he promotes her book and he believes it's something you should read. So again, remember to be brief, but put in the main points. So connect with them personally. End with something personal that will connect with the reader. So Sue is currently working on the sequel to her book and hopes to have it published sometime in 2026. That lets them know what's coming. It gives them expectation. You could say Sue's books can be found this spring on Amazon and in bookstores near you. Now here you might want to list a couple local bookstores if you know local people are going to buy it. You know, say it's at Barnes and Noble or whatever local to you, and even give the address. You might. And again, you might say something like, David would like to thank his readers and his fan club for their unwavering support. If you've got a 400-person fan club, you definitely want to say that because they're going to be the ones reading your book. All right, so what if you have different versions? Like myself, I write children's books, I've got cookbooks, I've got novels. You want to have different versions of your bio available for different books. So you may need to write multiple versions of them. So each version should be specifically tuned to the book the reader is holding in their actual hands. So if it's a cookbook on your bio, you want to talk about your love of cooking, maybe that you went to culinary school, maybe that you work as a chef. Children's book, kind of gear that toward the parents. You don't want to be really long-winded, but you want the parents to see that you have a love for children. Novels, you can again write about you and some of the things we've already talked about and the specific genre. If it's, for instance, I have a friend that writes children's book and she writes horror. She has two different personas for that, and she writes a different bio for the children's book, obviously, as she does for the horror one, and she takes totally different photos for the back cover, so you would not even know she's the same person. So if it's not relative to the genre, omit it. I mean, you don't want to put something on the back of a children's book like all your education or something like that. So be conscious of that, of what kind of version you're writing. Get someone outside of you to look at. Have someone else read your bio and give you feedback. Hire a professional to write your bio. That's always an option. I know there's a lot of companies out there that write a bio, and I myself can even help people write their bio for a small fee. Have someone edit the bio like a teacher, a pastor, professor. They're awesome at doing that. And then also you can have your family just look at it and say, well, you know, I think you got a little too much here, or they'll give you some good feedback. Take notes on all the feedback you get, and then use what pertains to you and what really stands out to you. But I suggest that if more than one person says the same thing about your bio, you might want to consider changing it. Okay, always, always, always include a photo of yourself, but make sure it's professionally done. Look your best, dress sharp. Don't be overly sexy or provocative. On the right, you can see some samples over here. Have several shots taken for various bios. You may want to, maybe more of a happy-go-lucky one for your children's books, or maybe more of a spooky one for your horror books. Smile, but not too big. The guy at the very top up here, I think it's a little bit of too much of a smile there, so that's something you might think about. More demure like the rest of them are. Okay, so that ends it for today. Again, thank you so much for being with me. This is a short but sweet one. If you have any comments, you can leave them down in the comment section, or you can email me at thepromotedpage@gmail.com. Watch for a new video coming out soon, and have a great day.